Yesterday we learned Daf Chafei, and I believe today we are learning Daf Chavav. So we are up to Daf Chafei Amud Beis, towards the bottom. And the last thing we learned yesterday is the halacha that was taught us due to a pasuk that whatever tumah you're going to apply to tumas meis is automatically always going to be tamei for 7 days. Okay, so we'll start from 4 lines from the bottom of Daf Chafei Amud Beis. Amati, thank you so much. Kishmaka hot coffee. Yeah, so it doesn't shut off. Now the Gemara goes through a couple of interesting havaminas that we already know the maskana of, but it's an interesting analysis. Now that we have the Chachamim who disagree with Reb Tarfon, and they don't hold that a tam pays nezek shalem in Rishus HaYachid, and that's a fact. So let's work our way backwards. Utehei shein v'regel chayiv b'Rishus HaRabim mikal v'chomer. Let's say that shein v'regel should not only be chayiv in Rishus HaNizik, it should also be chayiv b'Rishus HaRabim because of a kal v'chomer. Uma keren she'Rishus HaNizik einim mishalom al chati nezek. Madich keren, where even in Rishus HaNizik, according to the Chachamim, it only pays chati nezek. Nevertheless, Rishus HaRabim chayeves, it's still chayev Rishus HaRabim. Shein v'regel sher Rishus HaNizik mishalom nezek shalem eino din sher Rishus HaRabim chayev. Surely it should be chayev at least chati nezek. So zok the Gemara amarkra ubir b'steyacher v'loy Rishus HaRabim. So what you see from here is, of course, a Meforish pasuk trumps a kal v'chomer. As a matter of fact, any one of the shloisha shemidish shatar addresses behen usually trumps a kal v'chomer. That's why you often find in the Gemara kal v'chomer, and then the Gemara brings a pasuk or shava or some other limit to say that even though we have a kal v'chomer, we have a gil in the pasuk kamash malon. So through a kal v'chomer, we might have wanted to say that shein v'regel is chayiv b'Rishus HaRabim. Kamash malon the Torah bir b'steyacher v'loy Rishus HaRabim. Shein and regel are only chayiv in the Chatzar HaNizik. Correct the Gemara, midi kule karminon. Maybe ubir b'steyacher says for nezek shalem it has to be b'steyacher, but maybe for chati nezek it could even be Rishus HaRabim. Amar kra v'chatzu as kaspoi, by Karen it says that v'chatzu as kaspoi about the living shore. So kaspoi is a miut. Kaspoi shel zeh dafka of the Karen v'loy kaspoi shalach. Okay, gewaltig. Now let's try something else. So we've established so far that Karen only pays chati nezek b'Rishus HaNizik. Shein v'regel is not chayiv b'Rishus HaRabim. Let's try something else. V'loy say shein v'regel chayeves b'Rishus HaNizik el chati nezek. Maybe the whole chiyuv for shein v'regel should never be nezek shalem. At best, it should only be chati nezek mikal v'chomer mikeren. Again, from a kal v'chomer of Karen. Uma Karen she'Rishus HaRabim chayeves. Karen is chayev Rishus HaRabim. Nevertheless, Rishus HaNizik einim mishalemes el chati nezek. Shein v'regel she'Rishus HaRabim petura. Shein v'regel is in ganzen potter Rishus HaRabim. Eino din she'Rishus HaNizik mishalom chati nezek. Surely it shouldn't pay more than chati nezek, because even Karen that's chayev Rishus HaRabim only pays chati nezek Rishus HaNizik. Amar kra, for that we have a pasuk yishalem tashlum in ma'alya. It says legabe shein v'regel meitav sadeyu meitav karma yishalem. Yishalem means paid in full. Legamri mashma. So again, you have a pasuk telling you not to follow your logic that would be offered through the kal v'chomer. Toshus asks an obvious kasha. Just a moment ago, we said the chatzu es kasboi. The din chati nezek applies dafka to Karen and not to Shein. We used it a minute ago to say that you pay nezek shalom b'Rishus HaNizik, but from the same kasboi that's saying this halacha that we're telling you about Karen only applies to Karen, not to Shein. Shouldn't that also tell you that B'Rishus HaNizik it should pay nezek shalom? So let's see Tosfos' discussion. The Torah makes it quite clear that this din of Chatzin Nezek applies exclusively to Karen. So why do we need the pasuk of Yishalem to tell us that a Shein V'Regel pays Nezek Shalem? Yishalem is a Tosfos because there's two factors here. There's Chatzin Nezek, but there's also another kula in the Tashlumin of Karen, and that is Megufay. Yishalem de Ein Lamayit Mikaspoy El Chatzin Nezek. I would have only thought that a Tashlumin Megufay such as Chatzin Nezek, it's going to say that Chatzin Nezek applies only to Karen, but not to Shein V'Regel. The Kasboy Shozeh Chatzin Nezek Megufay, but you wouldn't be able to exclude that Shein V'Regel shouldn't pay Chatzin Nezek in Rishus HaNezek, because that Chatzin Nezek wouldn't be a Chatzin Nezek of Gufay, that would be a Chatzin Nezek of Mammon Ma'alya, meaning regardless of the value of the perpetrating animal, the Chatzin Nezek would be due in full. Okay, let's see the Gemara weiter. Let's say that Karen should not be chayiv at all in Rishus Harabim from a kal v'chomer from Shein V'Regel. U'ma Shein V'Regel sheb'Rishus HaNezek Nezek Shalem ma Shein V'Regel. When Rishus HaNezek, even the first time it does damage, it's already chayiv Nezek Shalem. Nevertheless, Rishus Harabim B'Tura and Rishus Harabim is pottering ganzen. Karen sheb'Rishus HaNezek Chatzin Nezek, where even in the Rishus HaNezek it only pays at the most Chatzin Nezek. Eino din sheb'Rishus Harabim B'Tura. Surely it should be in ganzen potter in Rishus Harabim. Amar B'Yochanan Amar Kra Yechatzon. Ein Chatzin Nezek leChaluk loy B'Rishus Harabim loy B'Rishus HaYachid. Yechatzon means it's across the board, and Rashi says it's a Kra Yisera. The Kra Yisera, the Nichdai V'Chatzu es Kasboy. That's all it had to say. But then it adds V'Gamish HaMeis Yechatzon. It could have said V'Chatzu es Kasboy V'Gamish HaMeis. Split the lie, split the mace. Why did it stick in V'Gamish HaMeis Yechatzon, the extra word? And L'drasha also Da'afrishis Rabbim Nami Chayiv. So your Kal V'Chayv was arguing that maybe when the pasuk says by Karen you pay Chatzin Nezek, it's referring to a case of Rishus HaYachid. Kamash Malah, that it's even referring to a case of Rishus HaRabim. In all instances, no matter where this Nezek of Karen occurred, the Chiyuv is going to be Chatzin Nezek for the town. Okay, now let's bring Adam here. Adam Amazik. Adam Chayiv B'Kofer. We know that if an animal kills a person, the owner of the animal has to pay kofer. It's actually a machlokes. Is kofer the value of the deceased, or is kofer the value of the person who's paying it? But whatever the case is, when a person kills, he doesn't pay kofer. But maybe a person should be chayiv kofer. But we have a little bit of a problem here, because under what circumstances would a person be able to pay kofer? Be able to pay kofer? Zokt Rashi, v'yadam chayiv b'kofer kagoyin b'mezid. Of course, b'shoygi you're going to Golos, there's no kofer. It has to be b'mezid. But the problem is, if you kill b'mezid, you're chayiv misa. Zokt Rashi v'loy asrube. It's speaking if he wasn't warned, the lesser bar katola, he's not going to get killed. V'loy bar Golos, and he's not going to go into Golos. Under those circumstances, the Gemara is suggesting with a kal v'chomer that an adam should be chayiv kofer. Why didn't Rashi want to learn you're chayiv kofer even if you're getting killed? What's the big deal? The teretz is Rashi holds it to be a problem of kamli b'drabim in it. If you look at Tosfos says it's even v'hachari sheyahareg v'yishalim kofer. Gemara shor. Tosfos learns no. The shaila of the Gemara is even if you're going to be chayiv misa, you're still going to have to pay kofer. But yet there won't be a problem of kamli b'drabim in it. So if you remember, a while ago we had a Tosfos at the bottom of an Amud Beis. I'm trying to think if I could remember where it was, but it was at the bottom of an Amud Beis. We were discussing Eitim Zoymim in there, and Tosfos said over there a very big chiddush. At the time, I remember it was a Geshmak chiddush, and that is, when do you say kamli b'drabim in a? That's only two different things. Hashem said, over here you get Misa, over here you get Mammon. If you happen to do them together, you'll do the Misa the Mammon. But if Hashem said, for this you get Misa and Mammon, of course you don't, there's no Kamei B'drabim Day. That is the prescribed oynish for this. If you say Kamei with Rabbi Minei, how would it ever work out that when Hashem said you pay both, you pay both? Wouldn't make any sense. So that's how Tosfos learned over there. So that's how Tosfos learns over here. I'm not sure what Rashi would hold. Let me just see where if I could find that Tosfos. I don't know what the Tosfos offhand, but I remember the Shmaka Tosfos when we found it. There were two big Chedushim that day from the Marsha. The Marsha explained the Tosfos there. And there was another Tosfos right beside it that the Marsha also had a very big Chedush on. Okay, so but there is that Shemachloikis, there's that Shaila, if you say Kamei B'Rabbi when it's the same act, the same Isser that's triggering both of you. Zok to Gemara. And there's the Kalvachimer. Uma shor, madich shor, she'enoi chayiv arba dvarim. A shor, when it does damage, even to a person, of course, it only plays nezek, not tzar ripui shevas and moishes. Nevertheless, chayiv b'koiver. If it actually kills, if a shor actually kills somebody, the owner of that shor will have to make koiver. Adam shechayiv arba dvarim. A person, if he just hurts another person, he's not only paying nezek, but he's paying all arba dvarim. Einoi din she'chayiv b'koiver. Surely he should be chayiv koifer if he kills a person. Amar Krot learns the pasuk k'chayil asher yushas olav alay aladam in the parish of koifer, which of course is referring to a case where an animal killed a person. It says as follows: Im koifer yushas olav v'nosam pidyanashai. So the extra k'chayil asher uses olav says this applies only to an animal that damages, that kills a person, but not to a person that kills a person. Okay, gewaltig. The Eishar chayiv barbad verb. Let's make the kal v'chomer now the other way around. Now that we've established that shor pays kofer, and we've established that the adam does not pay kofer, well then maybe using the kal v'chomer we should be mechayiv Eishar with dalad verb. V'yeshar chayiv barbad verb kal v'chomer. Uma adam she'inei chayiv b'kofer. Chayiv barbad verb. Shor shechayiv b'kofer. Eino din she'ei chayiv barbad verb. Again, we have a pasuk. Amar Kra ish b'misai v'lo shor b'misai. Under what circumstances does one pay dal dvarm? The ish ki yitin mun b'misai kasher asa ken yasalai, but not a shor b'misai. Okay, so we would have had all these kal v'chomers. That's why the Torah had to tell us all these different pieces of information to make sure that we won't come to a mistaken conclusion due to our kal v'chomer. Now let's clear another shayla. Regel shadarsa al gabe tinik b'chatzar nizik. Regel is chayiv b'chatzar nizik. Well, what if Rachman Litzlan, a animal didn't stomp, walked, but killed Rachman Litzlan, a small child, in the chatzar nizik under the conditions where an animal is chayiv for regel? Ma'u shet the shalom kofer. Would the owner of the animal pay kofer? Miyamridan, do you say midi de hava Karen? It's no different than Karen. Karen, kivin de ava treyu tlasa zimne urchahu mishalim kofer. We know Karen only pays kofer if it's a shor hamuad. So just like Karen pays when it's a shor hamuad, hachanami loishna. This is regel, which is a shor hamuad, because lagabi regel, every animal is a muad. So maybe there should be a chiyuv of kofer. Oidilma. Karen kavanasi lahasik. By Karen, the animal is wild, it's trying to kill somebody, it's trying to hurt somebody, trying to do damage. That's where there's a chiyuv kofer. But high ain't kavanasi lahasik. Since the animal does not have a kavanah to do damage, maybe there shouldn't be a chiyuv of kofer. Tashma, the Gemara wants to bring a raya. Hichnis shoyroi lechatzer balabayis shalei rishus. Reuben brought his ox into someone else's chatzer without permission. And his animal was out of control, and his animal killed the owner of the property. So the halacha is umeis, and Rachman Litzlan, the owner of the property, died. The halacha is hashor b'skila. The shor is a shor that killed the person, therefore the shor gets killed. Uba'ilov and the bailim bein tam bein muad mishalim kofer shalom. So normally only a muad pays kofer, but b'chatzar hanizik. Bein tam, Bain Muad would pay Kofer Sholem, not Chatzi Kofer. Diver Rab Tarfon. Like Rab Tarfon, if you remember, we just learned Rab Tarfon holds that Karen, Rishus HaNizik, pays Nezik Sholem even the first time. Kofer Sholem Ketam Rab Tarfon. You pay Kofer Sholem like a tam of Rab Tarfon, who holds that a tam B'Shus HaNizik pays Nezik Sholem. Minole, what is the makar of this brisa? We have a brisa that says that a animal would pay the bailam would pay kofer sholem. Where in the world does the Gemara know this from? Zok the Gemara. So where's the Tana knows it from? The Tana knows it because the Tana must have made the following calculation. Mishum the Sover like Rabbi Yosy Agli. The first part of the equation we need Rabbi Yosy Agli Domer Tam Mishalam Chatzi Kofer. Really, the parsha of Kofer was stated by Ashar Hamud. Rabbi Yosy learns that by Ashar Hatam there's also Kofer, albeit it's Chatzi Kofer, similar to the Nezikin or to the damage to the Nezakin that the animal would do with Karen if it was a Tam. So that's the first piece of the puzzle. He holds like Rabbi Yosy that even in Rishus Harabim you would pay Chatzi Kofer. Now it's no different than a regular nezek, where a Tarfon applies his Kal V'chomer. Umaisi law mi Kal V'chomer mi regel. So what is the Kal V'chomer from regel? Rashi helps us out over here and makes it crystal clear. Mi Kal V'chomer mi regel. Ki hechi de gomer lekeren tam l'yin nezakin b'masnisin, just like in our Mishnah. Harab Tarfon made a Kal V'chomer from Shein V'regel to be mechayiv Karen Rishus HaNizik. The very first time, even though it's a tam, you pay Nezek Sholem. He can use that same Kal V'chomer to be mechayiv a tam b'shus HaNizik Nezek Sholem. Kofer Sholem. V'hachi gomer la ma shein v'regel ma dech shein in regel shepeturin b'shus harabim legamri. B'shus harabim they're potter in gantin from any damages. Nevertheless, b'shus HaNizik kofer sholem, a animal will pay kofer sholem. So you noticed here, as part of the Kal V'chomer, it's assumed that a sheni v'regel will pay kofer sholem in Rishus HaYachid. So our whole shaila was, can we find a Tana who holds that sheni v'regel pays kofer sholem is from right here? Because since this Tana said that you pay kofer sholem for a Karen, for the damages of Karen b'shus HaNizik, and as part of the ingredients of how he knows it is the fact that shein v'regel pays kofer sholem. So that's part of our Kal V'chomer. So ma shein v'regel shepetur b'shus harabim legamrei. Nevertheless, b'shus HaNizik kofer sholem pays kofer sholem. Karen sheb'shus harabim chatzi kofer. Rabbi Yosy Aglili, Karen, which pays Chatzi Kofer b'Shus HaRabim. So it's much more chamor than Shein v'regel that pays nothing b'Shus HaRabim. Ein oidin sheb'Shus HaNizik Kofer Sholem. So since he has such a Kal V'chomer, it's obvious one very important ingredient of this Kal V'chomer is that Shein v'regel pays Kofer Sholem. Since Rav Tarfon made this Kal V'chomer, and he must have made this Kal V'chomer, because how else would he know that Karen Rishus HaNizik would pay kofer sholem? It must be alma ika kofer beregel. You lose your entire Kal V'chomer. So let's see this again. Minole lav mishum destorber like Rabbi Yosy Aglili damartam shalom chatzi kofer b'shus harabim umay shalom Kal V'chomer beregel alma ika kofer beregel. A very geshmak raya. This brisa holds you pay kofer beregel. Zok Gemara, you don't have a raya at all, because even if you didn't pay kofer beregel, we would still have a Kal V'chomer to prove that Karen, Tam, Rishus HaNizik would pay kofer sholem, even if regel did it. How do you get that? Amri Absim Merda, Tana Minizik in the regel Ma'asila. Zok Rashi, what is the Kal V'chomer? Minizik in the regel Ma'asila, well, like a kofer beregel. From here, we can say there is no kofer by regel. So what is Reb Tarfon's Kal V'chomer? To show that you pay kofer sholem by Karen b'shus HaNizik, as follows: Ma regel sheb'shus harabim poter b'nizakin. Lagaban Nizakin Regal is much more kuladik than Karen. Why? Because B'Shus HaRabim it pays 0. Nevertheless, B'Shus HaNizik Nezek Shalem. Nevertheless, B'Shus HaNizik pays Nezek Shalem. So you see, B'Shus HaNizik is much more chomer. Karen B'Shus HaRabim Chatzi Kofer Rabbi Yosy Aglili. If you hold that you pay Chatzi Kofer in B'Shus HaRabim, according to Rabbi Yosy Aglili, Einay Din B'Shus HaNizik, you should pay Kofer Shalem. So you see, you can learn about the chumrah of Chotzer HaNizik to be Mechayev, Kofer Shalem, B'Shus HaNizik by Karen, even if there'll be no Chiyuv Kofer for Shein V'Regel. We're just using Shein V'Regel as a way to illustrate that Rishus HaYochid is much more chomer than Rishus HaRabim. Even though Shein V'Regel is not relevant, even though Kofer is not relevant to Shein V'Regel. So therefore, you don't have a raya anymore that this Brisa holds that you pay Kofer by Shein V'Regel. Correct Gemara, that's not a good Kal V'Chomer. That Kal V'Chomer is not going to work. You know why? V'livrich mal nezaken de regel sheken yeshnon be'esh. You cannot bring me a raya from the zikin to regel, because nezikin has a chumrah. Nezikin has a chumrah, and that's why it's much more chumrah b'rishus hanizik. Nezikin has a chumrah that you have to pay full damages, even if it was burnt in a fire. But everybody knows there's never a chiyuv kofer if a person gets killed in a fire. Even though there's a liability for damages, there's never a situation where you're chayiv kofer for a person getting killed with a fire. So therefore, in general, you see Nezikin has a certain chumrah. So you couldn't bring me a raya that just because by Nezikin a Karen should pay Nezek Shalem, who I did by kofer. Let me just finish my sentence. So therefore, we're forced to say that the only way we could possibly know that Karen Tam pays kofer shalem b'rishus hanizik is only if Shein V'Regel does so as well.
If I'm lit a fire, whatever, this is
we're talking about a fire that you would be mechuyev for nizikin. If your animal lights a fire, I'm not sure if you'll be mechuyev for that.
The same way,
it's not chitzoi. So for sure, if it's Eisha Mishum Chitza, for sure it wouldn't be Chayiv. And I'm not sure if it would be Chayiv Mishum Mayna either. There he didn't make the fire, he took it. And he threw it out. Right, so there I'm Chayiv out, either I'm Chayiv out Tzroy Rice, or out Eisha Mishum Chitza.
So in such a case, if the person would get burned,
there would be no Chayiv Kofer. That's correct. There would be no Chayiv. That's exactly a good example of where there would be no Chayiv Kofer. Yeah, excellent example. Zokt Gemara, not a problem. I'll pick a case of Nezikin where there is no Chiyah for Eish. Mitaman. Zokt Rashi, Mitaman. Shepotter B'Eish. Taman is potter by Eish. Nevertheless, the Chayiv Regel that damages something that's Taman is Chayiv. Umay Selahachi. And now we have a modified Kal V'Chomer. But nevertheless, a Kal V'Chomer. My Regel Shebishus HaRabim. Madich Regel Shebishus HaRabim. Petura Miklum. It's part from everything. Nevertheless, chayiv b'rishus hanizik. Afilu ala tomun nezek shalim. If it damages in the rishus hanizik, even if what it damaged was concealed, it'll still pay nezek shalim. Karen shebishus harabim chatzi kofer. Karen that b'rishus harabim pays chatzi kofer. Surely should pay kofer shalim b'rishus hanizik. Dr. Gemara, that's not either a good raya. Malatomun also has a chumrah. Sheken yeshnoi bibor. Bor is mechuyev for damages from Kalim. Zokt Rashi, yesh nebebar, shemoy gedid tamun besak oy b'martu. If you had a gedid that was in a bag or something, so it was considered tamun. When it's galgal the nafal a bar and it fell into the bar, chayiv. It would in fact be chayiv. So oy bezoi, since you see a churma even by tamun, so we still have our kal v'chomer. No, so we're talking about the category of Nezikin. So the Gemara wants to say maybe the category of Nezikin, maybe why did the Gemara say why it's not a Kal V'Chomer? Because the category of Nezikin have a Chomer of Eish. Zok Gemara, no, because we're not bringing a Kal V'Chomer from all of Nezikin, we're bringing right from Tamil. Therefore, maybe only Gabi Nezikin do you say that if it pays Chati Nezek for Rabim, Karen should pay Nezek Shalom for Yoch. But by Kofer, maybe you wouldn't say that. Because Nezikin as a category is more Chamer. So Malon Zik and the Regel Shkan Yesha Be'esh, because it's more Chomer, Mitaman, where it doesn't have the Chomer. Well, Malataman, Shkan Yeshnai Bebar. But by Tamun, by Bar, there's a bigger Chomer. So Gemara, Mikalim. Kalim are part of Bebar. For Gemara, Malakalim, Sheyeshna Be'esh. So Gemara, Mikalim Tamunim. Kalim Tamunim are Sai going to be potter by H, Sai going to be potter by Bar. So therefore, you can't ask me the kasha that Nizak is more Chomer as a whole, because our Kalvachomer is not from Nizakim as a whole, it's from Nizakim of Kalim Tamunim. For Gemara, we still have an upshot to that Kalvachomer. Mala Kalim Tamunim sheyesh nan ba'adam. An Adam, no matter what he damages, is going to be mechuyev. So you see, in general, as a category, that Nizikin has a chumer over koifer, and therefore elalav shmamina mikoifer de regel ma'isila. We're stuck. The only way we can possibly have a valid kalvachomer to say that Karen, Tam, Rishus HaNizik will pay koifer sholem is only if we in fact say that Regel and Shane also pay koifer sholem. Alma ika koifer beregel shma amina. So we have a proof halacha lemaisa that it's koifer beregel. Amar leRabacham medifti leRavina. You went through all of this trouble to find all these different cases to find an altered kalvachomer. Really, your efforts were futile. You never had a chance. You never had a chance. We need to know. We need to say that this kalvachomer will only work if there's koifer beregel, because there's no way you could have gotten out of it otherwise. If you would want to say leka koifer beregel, the Tana in Ezekiel the regel ma'isila, and the Tana was using the kalvachomer from the Ezekiel the regel by illustrating that the Ezekiel the regel is more chomer. So too koifer by regel should be a chomer as well. I'm sorry. So too koifer by Karen as well should be more chomer in Rishus HaYachid. There's an kasha that would have slugged up every one of the kalvachomers that you tried to make. Livrech mal nazakin de regel shekin yesh number regel. By regel, you always pay the shalom no matter what, whether it's tumor, whether it's kalim, no matter what. So regel itself is much more chomer. Elalav shema mina mikoifer de regel ma'isila. The only way possible that we could have ever known that Karen will pay nezek shalom or koifer shalom, Rishos HaNizik, is only if the halacha by regel as well is that it pays koifer shalom. Alma'ika koifer beregel shmamina. So the conclusion of the Gemara is that koifer isn't only paid if a shor shtoises with a karen, it's also by regel. Now, that the Gemara assumes as a given that there's koifer by regel. That doesn't necessarily mean that the Gemara is passing like Rabbi Yosy Glili and Rabbi Parfin that you pay koifer shalom by karen for Rishus HaNizik. Right? We're just proving that this price must hold us koifer beregel as a given, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the Gemara is paskening that you'll pay koifer shalom by Karen. I'm sorry. According to Rabbi Yosy Glili, right? That is this whole Gemara is based on Rabbi Yosy Glili holds that you pay chatzi koifer b'shus harabim. It's all predicated, and I don't know if we pasken like that. Okay, zok to Gemara. I'm sorry. Adam mid la'olam. So I don't know if you remember Chesky Halberstam. He used to live over there in Bakerest. So he's always telling me, "Oi, so mid the Shtayde Mishnah Udam mid la'olam." I mentioned Alam mid. What? Oh, beautiful. So Adam mud la'olam. A person is always a mood no matter what. Bein shoygig, bein mezid, saif shoygig or mezid, bein or ben yashin, whether he's awake or whether he's sleeping. Now we're going to see the differences. We're going to see the differences how it impacts Nazikin today. We're going to see how it impacts other halachos like Hilchos Shabbos and other things where a person has a bigger chiyuv. What if someone blinded his eved? Rashi says by mistake. Or v'shibur as a kalim, or he broke kalim. The halacha is mishalem nezek shalem. He pays nezek shalem anyway. So, I'm sorry. Simas ein chaverai. I don't know why I said eved. Simas ein chaverai. If he blinded his friend by mistake, he pays nezek shalem. Zok to Gemara, Katani Sima is ein Chaveroi. He blinded his Chaver. Dumya the Shibur Shekalim. They're listed as two examples to teach us the same halacha, so they must have the same halacha. Mahasam nezek in arba dvarim loy. Just like when you damage your friend's kalim, there is only nezek. There isn't the other four damages, charipu, shevas, and bushes. Nezek in arba dvarim loy. If you damage b'shoigeg, a person, you don't pay dalal dvarim. So Rashi nezek in arba dvarim loy. Ela oimezid oikarav lamezid. Either mezid or karav lamezid. Dumya the chiyeruvin anoshim, where someone by mistake, he was looking to hit, and he hit somebody else by mistake. But if it's a complete shoygig, he would not pay the dalad dvarim. Okay, Zok to Gemara. Mina hanamili. How do we know this halacha that nezek is chayiv even shoygig? Amar Chizkiya, Zok Chizkiya, v'chein Tana devei Chizkiya, Amar Kra Petza Tachas Patza. So what does it say? The pasuk when you're talking about a person damaging, it says Kaviyah Tachas Kaviyah, Petza Tachas Patza, Chabura Tachas Chabura. There's three expressions of chiyuv to pay when you hurt somebody else. Rashi tells us Petza Tachas Patza is a Kra Yiserahu. It's a completely extra pasuk, Lahach Drasha, and therefore we use it for this drasha. So all of these examples are all extra, so we use them for a drasha. So Petzatas Patza we're using to teach you l'chayvoy ala shoyu kemezid v'al ha'oyin iskara. For Gemara, we don't have an extra pasuk of Petzatas Patza. We actually learned something else from that. To say that the aval fi Rashi the filo hechad the ikan nezek mishalom nami tzar. To teach you that there's a chiyuv tsar even when you're paying nezek. The loy temet tsar the kosev rachmana hani bedel nezek. Maybe the only time you pay tsar is if the damage that you didn't cause actual damage. For instance, you burnt his nail. That's very, very painful, but it doesn't diminish the value of the person, so there's no nezek. How do you know there you pay? There you pay tsar. How do you know you even pay tsar if you're doing damage anyway and you're paying for that damage? That's what we learn from Petza Tachas Patza. Zokt Gemara, we still have an extra expression here that we can use to tell you that Adam is chayiv on shoygi kamezit. And kein lichtev kra petza bipetza. My tachas petza shemami natarti. We also learned the halacha that Adam muad loylam. Amar Rabba, haisa even munachas loy bechekoi. What if a person had an even that was munachas loy bechekoi? Now, there's actually a very, very big shaila. At what level an Adam HaMazik is chayiv? So Rashi says on Amid Aleph we just learned that Adam HaMazik is only chayiv if it's not he's only chayiv. No, he's chayiv no matter what, right? What does he say? What is it? Korban l'mezid. You only pay dal dvarim if it's korban l'mezid, but nezik you pay no matter what. Now, if you look on Tosfos on Chav Zayin Amud Beis that we're not going to learn today, but it's very relevant to the conditions under which an Adam HaMazik is chayiv. Tosfos says over here, I'm on the third wide line of Tosfos on Daf Chav Zayin Amud Beis. Near the Adam HaMazik, I'm sorry, where am I up to? I should really go a little further. I should go a little bit further up. Shemami Nada ba'onis kedin geneva Adam HaMazik potter. Tosfos brings a raya that Adam HaMazik is not chayiv on anything. He's not chayiv on an oinis and geneva. There a mazik will be potter. Umedamar Rabbi Yehuda on this color geneva. Avo ba'onis who can aveda she krayv l'pshei yoser. That's where he's chayiv. So Tosfos actually creates different levels of liability. There's geneva v'aveda. Geneva is more on the stick. Veda is less on the stick. You lost something. So Tosfos says, and how we assess each case, I'm not sure, but Tosfos says that even Adam HaMazik who's chayiv b'oinis, it's not chayiv on any oinis, even though it's completely an oinis, like Geneva, it's only mechuyev on oinis ke'en aveda. And we'll have to see Tosfos more tomorrow. But the Ra'ah argues on Tosfos tremendously, and he says that it's not true, There's a big machlokes Rishonim about this. I think it's Rav. I'm not 100% sure. And he holds that no, oinus means even an oinus gomer, a person is chayiv. There's actually this is one of the sides. Take a machlokes Rishonim in Adam Hamud if it's oinus ken aveda but not ken geneva, or no matter what. Okay, so let's see the Gemara weiter. Amar Rabbi, how is ever munachas lebechek? Someone is a chek, I believe, is a lap or is chek a chest. So a person is lying down and he has a stone on his chest. He didn't even know that it was there. V'amad, and he got up. V'nafla, and it fell. L'inyin nezakin chayiv, l'inyin abad varm potter. So from this Gemara right away, they ask Tosis, you tell me it has to be oinus in order to be chayiv. It has to be oinus ke'em pshia. Here, there's a rock. He woke up. He didn't even see it, and he all of a sudden falls off. There is completely innocent. How could the Gemara suggest l'inyin nezakin chayiv? So Tosfos explains about this. The Nemuki Yosef explains this Gemara according to Tosfos. If there's a heavy rock on your chest, it's impossible that you had no inkling that it was there. You didn't know, like Loit didn't know. Epis and the inkling you must have had. That's enough to consider it the type of onions that you're chayiv for Adam Hamaz. So I'm a rabbi. How is ever menach lebechekle? V'lo hikrba. V'amad v'naf. L'inyin nizakin chayiv. L'inyin arba dvarim potter. L'gabe arba dvarim, you're going to be potter. Zok Rashi, l'inyin nizakin chayiv. Dafkinon shogi k'meizid onions karotza. But l'inyin arba dvarim, we learned you have to be onions karv l'pshia. Onions karv l'meizid. L'inyin Shabbos. What if that happened on Shabbos and it did a malacha? Allah is malachas machshavas asvatayr. There's a much higher threshold in order to say that you're over a malach Shabbos. So that's the malachas machshavas, which is a whole big Torah in and of itself that we can't get into. But let's see Rashi at least. Malachas machshavas asvatayr sheneschaven lasis malacha. Yet kavod to malacha elakasaver shayim chayil oisaver shemalachas umuteres. You have to have intended to do this action. It's just that was chayil. You thought it was Yom Tov, you thought it was a weekday, or you thought this was mutter, but you actually wanted to do this. That's a malachas machshavas. So that would be called misasek. Misasek is part. Inyan golus. Oh, you just said a key word. You said that misasek is part of legabe oynis. Legabe oynis, legabe oynis. So that's a massive machlokes achronim. If misasek is potter, the etim did aveir, nor there's no chiv oynish. Rabbi Kiveger holds. I think Rabbi Kiveger, the machlokes between Rabbi Kiveger and the Nesivus. The machlokes between Rabbi Kiveger and the Nesivus. One holds that etim did aveir, you did the ma'aser aveir, but misasek says you're potter from the oynish. But the other one holds that it's not called having done the ma'aser at all. And where does it chaps an afkamina in different cases? Okay, but it's already it's 6:46, so I got to move on. The in Golas. What about Golas? It killed a person when he got up. The Allah is potter. He'll be potter from Golas. Rashi is why the Golas siv maka nefesh b'shkoga. If he never knew there was a rock on his chest, that's not called shogi. He never knew anything about it. There's no chiv Golas. Linyan evet. What if it fell on this evet and it blinded the evet? Does the evet get to go free? So tomorrow pluk to the Reb Shimon ben Gamliel v'Rabbanon. That's totally the machlokes Reb Shimon Gamliel v'Rabbanon the Tanya. Hareisha your Rabbi Roifa. What if his other was a Roifa? V'Amar and he asked his Rebbe. He asked his other, do me a favor. Could you do some repair on my eye? Chayil einai. V'sima. And by mistake, the doctor was trying to do good for his evet, but something went wrong in his operation and it blinded him. Or chatar li shina. Do me a favor. Clean out my tooth. And by mistake, while he had good intentions, mistakenly the tooth fell out. The evet could laugh at the other, meaning here you try to do me a favor, and now he goes free. That's the Tanakama. But Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer v'shichsa. You know when there's a chiyuv to free your evet, that's if he was mishaches your rosh aver. Actually, is chavan l'shachsa. He had to have kavanah to damage. Here he went with the intention to help. That would not free the evet. Okay, so that was the first case. The second case is Hikrba. Snapshot, there was a rock on his chest that he never knew was there. When he went to bed, he put the rock on his chest. He knew it was there, but in sleeping, he forgot about it. And then Vishakha, he forgot that it was there. And then V'amad V'nafla. So now there's a higher level of liability on him. Leading the Zakan Chayiv, he would have been Chayiv anyway, as we saw. Leading Dalet Varm, Potter, it still doesn't make that threshold. As Rashi says, the Avagav the Hikrba, the fact is, at the time that it occurred, it was a shogi. Lean Golas, it will be chayiv. Why? The Amar Kra Bishkaga, Michlal, the Havala Yediyah, the Havala Yediyah. Like Abegolas, it's chayiv because once there's a Yediyah, that's good enough to classify it as a Shayik. Lean Shabbos Potter, because Shabbos has a much higher threshold. Meleches Machshavas, also Torah. The Avagav the Mikri Shkaga Lean Golas, even though Lagabe Golas, we consider it Shkaga and he's going to go into Golas, so Rashi, the Shabbos, Tabina Meleches Machshavas, it's a higher threshold. This person Lamaisa, when he got up and the rock fell off, he did not have kavod to the malacha. Lin Evet, what about Lin Evet? Look at the Shimon and were abundant as we had before. Now, what about another case? Neschaven Lizrik Stein. He wanted to throw this rock 2 amos. Now, if you throw on that a rock 4 amos from Rosh Hashanah, that will be a malacha. But Maver 2 amos is potter. But V'Zarek Abba, he didn't know his own strength, and it went further than his intention to throw it. Lin Zakn Chayiv, Nezakn is always Chayiv. Lin Dalad Varim, Potter, because he didn't have Kavana that it should go there. Lin Shabbos, Meleches Machshavas Bin, it'll be Potter. Lin Galus, if you notice, the Kippim saying Potter Chayiv. Here the Mishnah that the Gemara didn't tell us. It just says Lin Galus, Asher Letzida Merachman. Prat, L'Deschaven Lizuk Shnaim, V'Zarek Dalad. Does that mean Chayiv or Potter? What does that mean? So Rashi has 2 Lashonis. In one lesson he says, Asher Letzida, to be Mchuyiv al Tzmezid, but this you're not Mchuyiv al Tzmezid, so therefore you will go into Galus. But there was another Pshat in Rashi that says, no, Asher Lachida, you will not go into Galus. There's actually a Tunas Chois in Rashi, whether or not you go into Galus in such a case. I'm sorry? Right. But Asher Lachida is referring to Mezid. Asher Lachida, you didn't hunt him. It's not called hunting him to be Mechayiv you as a Mezid, to be Mechayiv you Misa. If you were in the Schavel and Zerk and Berserk base, but maybe you still go into Galus. No. According to the first Lashon in Rashi, you're chayiv to go into Galus in this case. So there's actually a shaila what it means when you go to Shlachida. Is that telling you that you're chayiv goes, but you're potter from Misa for killing B'mezid, or does that mean you're even potter from Galus? So there's 2 different shatim. Amachwana Pratlan Schav and Lizrik Stein Berserk. Dal Eved. It's the same thing. Now, what about more? He wanted to throw it 4 amos, so he had intended to do a malach on Shabbos, but it actually went 8. You're always chayiv. Lean Dal and Potter. I didn't want to throw it 8 and hit the guy at 8. Lean Shabbos, it depends. But if he said wherever it lands I'd be happy with it, because if I wanted to throw it to this place and I went to a different place, I didn't do what I wanted to do. But if I didn't care where it landed, so then I'll be chayiv. In Eloi. Linyan Galus, Asher Leitzida, Prat Lenischav and Lizark Arba Vizark Shmoina, which is the same as before. It's 2 Lashonis. Linyan Eved, Pluk Nid Rabshilm Vilgarban. Gavaltik, Vomarabba. Zara Kli Mirashagak. This is a whole new sugya. I'm just trying to think if it's 6:52, so we're over. So we have to stop here. So I'm just going to speak out one interesting thing where we have an interesting halacha. The halacha is, what would be the halacha if a guy had a knife, a chalif, on his chest on Shabbos, and he gets up and the knife slices the neck of an animal, so it kills him? Is that a malacha? No, it's not malachas machshavas. It's not malachas machshavas. The shaila is, would it be a kosher shechita? Would it be a kosher shechita?
I don't know if you shchita, but the shala is if you know 100% that it was nagroma, it's just 200.
So there's assuming it was 100% kosher. So there's actually a massive machlokes rishonim in Teres Habayis, which is the Rashba. Now Teres Habayis is the Rashba. On the Teres Habayis, there was a sefer called Bedek Habayis, which is the Ra'ah, and in that particular relationship, the Ra'ah is very aggressive with the Rashba. The Ravid sometimes is very aggressive in his approach to the Rambam. The Ra'ah is like the Ravid on steroids when he's attacking the Rashba. And because of that, the Rashba had to write another sefer, which is on the other side, called the Mishmeres Habayis, protecting his bias. So in Hilchos Shchita, they have this discussion. And the Rashba says in Teres Habayis, if he got up, then I think he says, although I wouldn't paskin like this, halacha lemaisa, but I think it would be a good shchita. Because even though it's not meleches machshavas, it's misasik, and it should still be good enough for a shchita. and there are all mamish attacks in geferla. So this is a massive machlokes rishonim if this will be good.
What's the reason for this?
If in order for it to be koyach gavra, if it has to be a koyach gavra. But if in order for it to be a koyach gavra, it would masasik be considered the koyach gavra.
If someone shoots an arrow and it flees mamish in the right spot, it's kosher.
Yes, I gotta go. Smash this. Thank you.
Okay, be well, be well.
Welcome.
He's leaving. He's going to the chasna. Do me a favor, send Eddie my regards. Please tell Eddie a mazel tov for me.
It's the airplane.
Sure.
Yeah, he's on the
Yes.
airplane. Please tell Eddie mazel tov for me.
Yeah, sure.
Where's your free Palestine sign? Don't you want to get good service? Okay, have a good day. I just got thrown off YouTube.